Hey, welcome back. We're talking on cinema. I'm Tim Heidecker, your host. We are talking and celebrating the 20th anniversary of Ghostbusters. With me is film buff Greg Turkington. Greg, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, Ghostbusters, Ivan Reitman, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, that film's a classic, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's got all the notes. It hits all the notes. It hits comedy. It hits sci-fi. It hits adventure. It's a landmark film. It's one of the great films of the '80s in terms of comedies.
And a lot of people don't realize how popular it was because it was just that popular.
You know, I watched it recently and was struck by how funny it is, and also how original it was, because there wasn't a lot of movies like that at the time.
That was the first movie like that, and I don't think there was a sequel, but other than that, there's never been anything like it.
All right. Well, any Academy Awards for that? I don't think it won any, but, that's
the Academy, sometimes they make the wrong decisions.
Right. Well, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Hey, welcome back. This is On Cinema. I'm your host, Tim Heidecker. Joined with me is Mr. Greg Turkington. Greg, thanks for coming on the show again.
Hey, it's always fun to be here.
Today we are celebrating the 20th anniversary of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
That's a classic. That was a big hit for Mr. Kubrick.
Now, it was originally based on a Stephen King book, correct?
Yeah, and I've never read the book, and I always meant to read it because I love the movie.
Yeah, well, you have Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall and
the Scatman.
Scatman Crothers. Right. And it's a chilling, I guess you could call it a horror movie or a thriller. It deals sort of with paranormal activity, in a hotel.
Yeah.
Very well made, for a horror movie. It was very well made, very high quality.
Especially for the time, I think.
Yeah. And I believe it won an Academy Award, or?
It was nominated. I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Get back to you guys on that.
All right.
But yeah, what can you say about The Shining? I mean,
it's one of the great horror movies, right up there with the rest of them. Like Psycho and
the haunted, the haunted house,
Poltergeist,
and Jack Nicholson. I mean,
that's got to be one of Jack Nicholson's greatest performances.
What can you say? I mean, this is prime Nicholson.
What's the famous line? There's a lot of famous lines from the movie, but one of the famous is where he quotes, "Here's Johnny."
And of course, Johnny Carson at the time was also very popular.
Was at the height of his success.
And, be interesting to know if they went on the show to promote this movie.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to me about Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Hey everybody, you're listening to On Cinema. This is your host, Tim Heidecker. We are coming to you live from a German restaurant, and we're talking, because it is Oktoberfest, and we're talking about German films, and my guest is Greg Turkington. Greg, thanks for coming tonight.
Hey, it's good to be here and to celebrate German cinema in this way.
Yes, so the movie we're going to talk about today is Run, Lola, Run, which is a German movie from
1999 or 2004.
Yeah.
It's fairly recent, and I think pretty good.
This was like a groundbreaking movie because of how fast-paced it was.
And filmed in Germany entirely.
Yeah, it was German subtitles, or it was in German but English subtitles, and featured a girl that was sort of on the run from, was she on the run from the cops, or?
I just don't remember.
All right, well, if you haven't seen Run Lola Run, check it out. It's on DVD. You can check it out, or on Netflix. It's available there, and it's one of the biggest German movies of
all time, and it was heavily featured on cable TV, and I think you can download it on demand as well on iTunes. And it never came out on video because it's more recent. At that point, they had discontinued the video format.
I don't think that's true. I think you can get it on video because I saw it on DVD. All right, anyways, that's Run Lola Run. Everybody have a great, safe Oktoberfest, and we'll see you soon. See you next week. Hey everybody, this is Tim Heidecker, and we are once again here for the On Cinema podcast. It's a podcast where we talk about movies and our favorite movies, and I'm joined by my special guest, Greg Turkington, is a film buff.
Yeah,
so,
that's funny.
Welcome, Greg.
Thanks. Well, as always, it's great to be here. I always look forward to this all week long, and really proud of the work you've done with this podcast in getting it around and in keeping it commercial free.
Yes, well, that's important. Although we'd all like to be making a ton of money, I think this is just a passion project for us.
It's a labor of love.
Anyways, our movie today is Carlito's Way, starring Al Pacino and directed by Brian De Palma. Greg, have you had a chance to see this movie?
I've seen most films. I consider myself kind of a minor league expert in cinema. That's one that somehow slipped through the cracks.
Oh.
It was not a big picture. It was one that didn't play in the theaters very long, not readily available.
Okay, well, I thought I'd let you know we were talking about Carlito's Way, but let me tell you a little bit.
Not on DVD.
Okay, I think it
so
is.
I have a VHS player too, not available. I've looked for it. I mean, it's a great film. People love it, but sometimes the studios.
Let me tell you about that.
You should get people to send petitions to Paramount Pictures to get these things released.
Listen, a lot of people
preserving film.
Well, yes, I'm pretty sure we can get a hold of it if you look hard enough. But a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that Carlito's Way is a sequel to what the hell?
Cutter's Way.
No, the Pacino movie from the '80s with De Palma.
The women, the Scent of a Woman.
No, Scarface.
Scarface. Okay.
But it's not. It's actually just a similar story, almost as if that character was older. But I liked it. It's very violent. It has a lot of racy scenes in it. Sean Penn is actually very good in it, playing a very devious character.
And
so,
good luck finding it, though. I mean, that's one that you just don't see.
Okay.
It's just not around.
If you're looking for a movie to watch this week, go try to get a copy of Carlito's Way. Yes, try to get a copy of Carlito's Way and watch it with your. Definitely don't watch it with kids.
I've been looking for that movie for years.
Definitely can get hold of Carlito's Way. So thank you very much, and we will see you next week on In Cinema.
Thanks for listening.
Okay, you don't need to say that. Thank you. Hey everybody, welcome to my podcast.
Hi guys.
Welcome to the podcast. It's On Cinema with your host Tim Heidecker and my guest Greg Turkington. He's a film buff and knows a lot about movies, so I have him on the show. Our film today that we're discussing, because we're celebrating the 30th anniversary of this film this year, is The China Syndrome. It's not what you think either. It is not about China, and it's not about Chinese people. It's actually about nuclear power. And it's about the possibility or the real threat of there actually being a nuclear meltdown. And, it's one of those films that raises a lot of interesting questions. Greg, have you seen it?
Yeah, I have seen it, and Jane Fonda, of course, was nominated for the Academy Award. And that's the top honor in film. So, it's a good film.
Well, you also have Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas, Sidney Lumet, I think, directed it.
I don't know about that. Let me look that up.
It's based on a real story.
Yes.
3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania, there was an accident, and they made it into a movie, and it was a big hit movie for Jane Fonda. It's sort of her comeback. She hadn't had a hit since Barbarella, which was a long time. So this was a big movie for Jane Fonda.
It was actually directed by James Bridges, not Sidney Lumet. And I want to give a shout out to Michael Douglas, who actually produced the movie as well as starred in it. And that's what a lot of people don't know about Michael Douglas is he was also a producer and a very successful one at that. He produced other movies as well. So you got to give Michael Douglas credit for that.
An On Cinema round of applause, if we can add that.
Yeah, and we just want to say if you haven't seen China Syndrome, that is on DVD, and you can get a copy of it pretty easily, either renting it or if you go to Coconuts or Hollywood Video, you can probably buy a copy.
Sort of Field of Dreams meets nuclear disaster.
No, this is a little more of like Network, which is maybe why you thought Sidney Lumet.
Okay.
And you also have one of the first.
I've seen Network.
You have one of the first movies featuring the old man from Cocoon, who was the Quaker Oats man. I can't remember his name.
Wilford Brimley.
Wilford Brimley is in the movie as well. All right,
And
thank
Jack
you.
Lemmon from The Apartment and The Odd Couple.
We talked about that already. Anyway, thank you very much, and enjoy China Syndrome, and it's an important film. Hello, welcome back. Thanks for listening. My name is Tim Heidecker, and you are listening to On Cinema. Talking about movies, pop culture, movies, new movies, old movies, and my guest is film buff Greg Turkington. Greg?
Hey, everyone.
Thanks for coming in again, Greg, and doing this with me. It's been a lot of fun.
I look forward to this, and I look forward to reading comments and hearing people talk about what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, well, it's been a real eye-opener for me to see what people like and what people don't like, and obviously we'll keep working on it.
And we have our own tastes. I mean, everyone does. So
that's right. Well, I want to talk today because we are celebrating the 20th anniversary of the first Lethal Weapon movie starring Danny Glover and
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson, yes. Sorry. I should have said Mel Gibson first because he's sort of the more famous, he's the bigger star out of the two.
But I think in the film they're both,
they're
partners.
Yeah.
And that's what made the series work.
Right. Yeah, so I wanted to not only talk about the first Lethal Weapon, but I also wanted to talk about the sequels, because I feel like you kind of have to talk about all the Lethal Weapons, because they're all different for different reasons, but I think they're all pretty... I don't remember the last one, but at least the first 2 or 3 are really good movies.
Well, the thing to do, and I mean you can do this at home with friends or whatever, is just to stack them all up in your player and just watch them one after another and just see how the story progresses and just follow these guys as they do their thing. And that's a fun afternoon. Okay.
Well, yeah, we should do that sometime. So I don't think the Lethal Weapon, directed by Richard Donner, really broke any molds that didn't exist, because you had cop movies. But what do you think was so special about it? Was it the chemistry Oh God.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
Well, what can you say? I mean, this is just a successful franchise, and people really liked it. And it didn't have a hit single attached. It wasn't a music video driven film. It was about a friendship, and you had some you had some drama. You had some police scenes.
It's funny you mentioned the music because Eric Clapton did a lot of the music for Lethal Weapon.
I'd have to check on that. I mean,
he did.
He did.
Yeah, if you remember, there's a lot of blues.
Well, he's
music
great.
in it,
He's great.
Anyways, so if you haven't seen Lethal Weapon,
and don't just watch one. I mean, you really owe it to yourself to watch them all and in order.
definitely. So check it out. It's on TV all the time, but I know. It's on Netflix, or you can
Blu-ray
rent it.
now. Do you have the Blu-ray?
I don't have
one either.
I don't have a Blu-ray. Edit that Blu-ray player.
Yeah, but they're out there. Best Buy is a place where people get them, and you probably pick up some of the films there. There may be a box set with all the Lethal Weapon.
Right.
Together.
Well, I don't want to officially say that because I don't know if there is.
Well, I said there may be.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But and also the famous artwork from the cover is very. Also, I just want to mention that the poster is very with Danny Glover and Mel Gibson on the cover.
Oh, with a gun.
I don't want to get.
If you're a real film buff like I am, you'll go on eBay and you'll buy the poster, you'll buy the T-shirt, you'll buy the stills from the movie.
I don't want to get hung up on the poster, but one last thought on Lethal Weapon, the series, is Joe Pesci. We got to give him credit.
Yeah,
for making a big. When you just because
all
you can't just go
Joe Pesci.
All props to Joe Pesci. So we love Joe Pesci. Joe, if you ever want to call in or do the show,
and
let us know.
We might do a whole Joe Pesci retrospective on this show. We'll just have to
we'll
see. Yeah.
All right.
Promise it, so see you guys.
Maybe even a Martin Scorsese retrospective. We'll see. No promises, but thanks for listening, guys. All right. Have a great one, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.
Hey everybody, welcome to On Cinema, the podcast where I talk about cinema and movies coming out or old movies. And with me today is my guest, Greg Turkington.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, so we got a little bit of a different vibe going on today. We're going to talk about a movie that's coming out soon, and it's called J. Edgar, which is a movie about Edgar Hoover.
This is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun episode.
And he was the director of FBI, and one of the first. I guess he was the first director of the FBI. One of the more, and it's played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's directed by Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood.
Thank you for
who. If you're a film buff like I am, you may have seen him in all kinds of films. He's one of the great stars of our time. He was in the Dirty Harry movies and a whole lot more.
What's the line from? What's the line from Dirty Harry?
Go ahead,
make my day.
Make my day.
So that one, but he's also director, and I think a lot of people don't realize that is he's directed some major motion pictures, including the one with Sean Penn where he was in Boston.
The Unforgiven.
The Unforgiven.
The Unforgiven
is a Western.
One of my all-time favorites. It's a great movie, and he's a great director. You see him as an action star, and you think, oh, a guy who's carrying a gun around like that wouldn't be very smart.
Or maybe he would be if he's that kind of personality.
Well, usually people that are shooting and in law enforcement don't tend to make movies.
No, I know, but we know he's a good actor, and sometimes good actors also can become good directors as well.
Sometimes they can't, though. Like Madonna, if you've seen, she directed a couple of films that just didn't do big box office. Just really were flops. And
but one actor who went on to become a good director is Alan Alda, who directed a lot of the
Ordinary
episodes
People.
And I don't know if he directed. I don't think he directed that, but he directed episodes of MASH. And he also has for a while he had a science program on PBS. Anyways, I'm excited to see J. Edgar.
Yeah, me too. And always interested in what Leonardo DiCaprio,
who is in Titanic. All right, thank you very much, everybody, and go see it.
Opens soon and coming to DVD soon after.
And probably on demand too. So check that out. Take care. Hey everybody, welcome to On Cinema. This is the podcast where I discuss movies that are coming out or movies that have come out, popular movies, some movies that you may not have heard of. This week my guest is film buff Gregg Turkington. Greg, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks again for having me. I always appreciate it.
Well, today's movie we're going to discuss is The Graduate, a 60s movie from the 1960s starring Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman and Katharine... Oh, boy.
Hepburn.
No. Katharine Hepburn is quite a bit older. This was...
Well, everybody knows what this movie has seen this movie, and it has the songs from Simon & Garfunkel called Sounds of Silence, and Mrs. Robinson is in it. And it was really
Over Troubled Water, and
it was a really different movie for the time because it was very it dealt with sort of social issues that you don't really that weren't really discussed in movies. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, because you had a scene shot in a church, which was unusual for that time. It was a groundbreaking movie, and it's still a classic. It was a classic when it came out, an instant classic, and it's still a classic, and you really should see it.
And I think recently it was just re-released in a beautiful new packaging and with some special features, amazing special features.
It's a deluxe edition, and they do a lot of that these days, and you can't blame them. There's a demand for these movies. People want to see them again, and so they often will spend a little more money and make a more deluxe package, and I enjoy it.
It's funny to imagine that a movie like that would have come out, and then it would have been out in the theater, but you couldn't get it on DVD, obviously, because it was before DVDs or tapes, and there was no commentary or special features or anything like that until recently, when that technology made it possible for that kind of stuff to happen.
And very few people had film projectors. You wouldn't watch a movie at home on your own projector. That just didn't happen.
That's interesting too. Well, anyways, thanks for checking it out. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's really one of the best movies that Dustin Hoffman ever made, and it was also one of his first movies. So thanks for joining.
And Oscars all around, I think. Best actor, actress, score, Simon & Garfunkel, probably, and director.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll talk to you later. Everybody have a great week.
Bye.
Hey everybody, welcome to On Cinema, the podcast where I discuss some of my favorite movies and discuss them, sort of the whole deal of where they come from and why they're made, etc., etc. My guest is film buff, and he's with me today. It's Gregg Turkington. Greg, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, it's always fun to be part of the On Cinema family.
All right, well, today's movie is I'll let you guess. It's a science fiction movie. It's based on a TV show, and it's from the
Lost in
80s.
Space, Outer Limits, Twilight Zone.
No. This takes place in space, though, so you got part of it right.
Spaceballs?
No, it's Star Trek. actually, what we're going to discuss today is Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan.
Oh yeah, that was great. You brought back all the old characters that we loved, and it's always good to see characters you love in a new setting, such as this film did, set them in San Francisco, which is a beautiful city.
No, that was Star Trek IV. That was Star Trek IV: Voyage Home. Wrath of Khan 2 is about when they meet up with Khan again, and it's
in San Francisco.
No, that you're thinking of the Time Machine
James
one.
Doohan, Leonard Nimoy, William Shatner.
Yes, those people are all in it, but in 2, they don't go back in time. They don't go to San Francisco. They stay in space the whole time.
I'm gonna disagree with you. I guess that's what makes this show fun. Is we do sometimes have different opinions, but no, I do think that the second one, The Wrath of Khan, is in San Francisco, and it stars Ricardo Montalban.
All right, well, we can double check. We can check that online.
No, because it's interesting that you would see those characters in modern times. In modern times, it's
yeah, and that's what they did in 4. So check out, if you want to see them in modern times, check out Star Trek 4. I'll go through with you. Star Trek 1 is motion picture. 2, Wrath of Khan. 3, Search for Spock. 4, Voyage Home.
Well, you're just
5,
reading off a list. It doesn't really have anything to do with what the films are about. And
well, Voyage Home is about them going back to San Francisco in the past. So we'll check on that.
So. I think that.
Anyways,
I think that one again, it takes place in outer space.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm positive about it. So thank you very much for checking it out. If you haven't seen 2, go check it out. It's the best Star Trek movie.
Video.
Welcome to On Cinema. This is my podcast where I talk about cinema. My guest is Greg Turkington, and we're going to be discussing Sorry, lost my train of thought. We are going to be discussing Jewel of the Nile with Michael Douglas, another Michael Douglas movie. We did China Syndrome a couple weeks ago, and now we're doing Jewel of the Nile, which is it's a much different movie, and it's also got Kathleen Turner in it and Danny DeVito.
And it's a great movie. Michael Douglas, the reason he keeps popping up on these shows is he's just that good. He's in that many good movies, and we like to talk about him. We like to see him, and you should see him too.
He was kind of the George Clooney of his day. If you don't know Michael Douglas's earlier work, he was really successful as a leading man actor, and in this movie in particular, he's pretty dynamic in it.
Yeah, I think he got a lot of great critical notice for this film, and he deserved it because he's been around a few years, but this was really sort of, to quote the title of the movie, this was kind of the jewel in his crown of acting. He did a great job.
Yeah, and it's a fun throwback. It almost feels like the George Lucas movies with Steven Spielberg in them, Steven Spielberg directed movies.
The Raiders series, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, not what's the character?
Indiana
Jones.
That whole series is one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I'd love to talk about it sometime on the show.
Well, we'll definitely put that on the list. Thanks very much for listening, and have a great weekend, or have a great week. Our post these on Monday. All right.
Bye, guys.